My name is Niteria Green. We met at the book fair in Chicago at the Soulful Book Fair. I think I
Several years at this point. It was a while ago, but I do remember it being a good time. It was with the community, and there were different vendors and all these things. And I remember meeting you.
yeah, it
at
was
the show.
I think it happened like in 2018 or 17, somewhere in there.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, we met there.
Oh,
And then just to let you know, I got your book, copy of your book, and then this is what you signed. You put
yeah.
that. I don't know if you can read it.
Green Paper Group. I hope the threads you weave form a beautiful tapestry.
Yes, because we were promoting our uh, company, and then we were also promoting my husband's book at the time when we met at the fair, which was ATM. Um, I want to talk about your book today. Now, I know everybody who doesn't know who your name is, Miss Diana Morris. This is the author who wrote this book. Um, I loved it. I really liked your book. You did something different. Like when I was reading it, I like the format, how you set it up. Um, it was just really different. I like it how it's like written in screenplay format and how you put the comments not only in the content, but you also had things at the bottom in small print.
Editorial commentary that doesn't quite fit up there, but it's a little color context for what I'm referring to as when.
Right. And I enjoyed that too. Because at first I was thinking like, well, maybe she didn't. And then I had to do the read. And I'm like, oh, okay. This is she want to add a little extra on top of what you already are reading. This is cool. So basically, what inspired you to be an author in the first place?
Really, it's funny you ask that because a few months ago, maybe earlier top of this year, my mom sent me a photo and she had been going through like different boxes that we have in the house. And it was one of the first books I wrote when I was really little. And
Okay.
really the answer, right? Like I've always just been a reader. I've always been a writer. My mom is a teacher. My dad also worked in the school system as a custodian. So education has always been part of our family. And
Okay.
kind of having that creativity, my mom would teach us during summer. So we didn't really have summer. We would have classes in the summer. So we wouldn't lose any of the skills, going to the library, doing their little reading competition. So that's always just been the spirit of the creativity, the imagination, and wanting to share something with other people who care to read it.
So you basically had summer school when regular school was finished.
Yes, she would bring little workbooks, our language arts, our hooked on phonics, our math books.
Right.
And we would just each day we would have a little time period where we would have to do homework and do schoolwork, and then we could just go to the library and get books and do all of that. So it's always been that learning, that education, that figuring out how to add words to what you're observing in the world and how things work has always been
Mm-hmm.
fundamental in my life.
Well, that's good that you mentioned that. So, what drives your creativity?
Really just trying to figure out how and why all of this exists, right? Like every single thing we're looking at in the world has been created from someone's imagination, right? Like someone
Okay.
that come up with the idea of what would it look like for two people in two different locations to stare at a black screen and talk to each other, right? Then we have Zoom, then we have FaceTime. So this idea of, you know, all of this is by design because people take the time to think, what if? I think that's magical. And then for me, it's just like, all right, what else, what can I come up with, right? How can I, again, add that language and try to make meaning of what I'm observing and try to add it or explain it in a way that will help someone else understand it and then go on to create and imagine for themselves as well.
Wow, Diana, that's really, I never looked at it in that aspect, but you're right. It's like everything is creative if you really just sit there and look at it. And that's what I noticed too in your book, like how you explain things. when you like in the book, but I don't want to give it away too much because I want people to read it. But just like how you explain things in a way where you take a minute and be like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Like some things that seem so minute, they
Mhm.
seem you might be like, you overlook, and then later on you're like, I mean, but it all makes sense. Like when you
Like it
think
started,
about it.
and yeah, it started with a question of what if, right? Like, what if I,
Mm-hmm.
and then I talk a little bit about this in the book, so I won't give spoilers, but moving beyond just that question to actually finding the answer, right? Like,
Right.
what would it look like? How can I find out? I think there's that beautiful, like, humans are so special. Like, I think about this, like,
We are.
we just sit around and we do things. Like, I think that's so fascinating and humbling and beautiful. And I just love poking at it and digging into it a little bit more.
So with that, what do you because you just describing everything so good. Okay, so with that being said, what do you think is like more the most challenging thing when you are trying to process everything before you start to write?
So I'll answer this in a way that I hope answers your question. So the book, actually, the short essays were things I'd written over the years. Like it took a decade. Some of those things I'd written like a decade before I actually put it in the book. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these things, to your question of what is the challenge or what makes it difficult, it's just doing something with it, right? Because it's very easy to sit there and just be in my own head and do the wondering and the musing, and then be like,
Mm-hmm.
someone else would be interested in this. So let me share this with someone and not
Right.
just on my notes app, wondering these things and thinking these things through or telling it to like my immediate circle. It's really choosing to find value in the questions I have in the same way I choose to see value in the questions that other people have. I think it's that bridge of realizing that it's worth sharing and it's worth articulating and it's worth putting out there to
Mm-hmm.
spark something for others.
So besides this novel, do you have any other books that you have, or are there any other literary things that you're working on right now?
So I created a clarity workbook. So in addition to writing, I'm also a clarity coach and a consultant. So really helping individuals and organizations, again, figure out those questions, figure out what's going on, the hows, the whys, the what ifs, da, da, da. So I created a workbook to help people gain clarity in different areas of their life, whether it be their professional life, personal life, friendships, whatever it is. And it includes different exercises and activities, as well as some journal prompts for them to start digging deeper into their own selves and find the answers that they already have. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one I've published and put out into the world. And then on my website, I have different blog posts where I blog occasionally. And then again, I have books that won't see the light of day. It's just things I've typed and done on my own, nothing that I've actually gone all the full distance and published and shared out.
Why you're saying that they won't see the light of day, or you don't think it's worthy of bringing them out, or
At this point, it also takes energy to go through the publishing process. So a lot of it is, I'll share it, but it won't be like a full scale publishing events like we went through at this point. Now it's December 19th as we're recording this. So maybe December 20th, I'll change my mind. And but for
right?
now, I'm not actively looking to publish anything in the same way I did with this one.
I'm glad you brought that up too. So, are you trying to be more flexible with your writing, like different genres, or
Yeah, absolutely. I have one thing that I'm working on is like a psychological thriller. Again, because there's just so many ways to look at the world. So
yeah,
I feel as though, in the words of Beyonce, genres are a funny thing, aren't they?
right?
They can be constrictive and confining, and it could feel as though you can only do things in one specific formula, method, way. And
Mm.
I don't think that for me, that's not how I see things, and that's not how my creativity runs. So I like dabbling in different genres. I mean, even with this one, it was a blend of things, of two different
Right.
genres together. So yeah, there's a mixed bag.
Well, you already started because you have the workbook. That's different from what the book that we're talking about right now. So I would like to check that out and read it and, see what I come up with. Because this one even had me thinking, and maybe the workbook, since it goes into more of a detail, like you can write along while you're writing, and it'll keep you still engaged in the material.
Exactly. And
So,
it's more complex. And it's more about you all, like the reader, the person going through the workbook, doing the exercises. And even as I say this here now, we started talking about the workbooks my mom used to have us doing, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I just had that connection in my brain.
I
So
know.
thank you for the conversation. That was really special.
Now
Okay.
you right, now you're the teacher. You know
No.
what they say, the apple don't fall too far from the tree?
That's
Oh, that's so cute. I like that though. That's nice though. She instilled in you, like, whether you were acknowledging it or not, she was instilling in you for something like later on,
Mhm.
so that so okay, switching gears here with this book. And I just want to know, am I pronouncing this right? Is it, because I saw it like how you written it out? The,
Mhm.
I got two ways I think I want to pronounce it. Is it Lachesis or is it Lachesis? Lachesis or Lachesis?
Lachesis.
Lachesis. Oh, okay. Because I'm like,
And with that pronunciation, when I was an undergrad, I took an intro to Greek mythology course because I love Greek mythology. So I even
mhm.
reached to my professor when I was writing the book, which at this point, it was like 5 years after graduation, like 7 years after taking her class. I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I was a student. And I'm doing this thing. How do you pronounce his name? So I had her show me how to pronounce
Right. Oh, Lord.
my wonderful professor. It's Lachesis. So if there's someone
So
else
it's
there,
not just me then. Okay.
exactly. I also had to reach out. So if there's any question, yes, it is a difficult one at times.
Right. It must have had that course must have had a profound effect on you.
Mhm.
Like before I even read your book, I looked it up. I'm like, okay, what does the lachesis mean? And then it was like this was a Greek god, and it meant basically the god who controlled basically your lifetime, your lifespan, or whatever that was. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be a deep book. Like
I had you doing
okay.
homework before you started.
And I looked up, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be. I'm gonna have to, yeah, this is gonna be one of those books. But it was, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I'm not gonna say your book isn't deep because there were parts in there where I was like, oh, and it tugged at me a little bit. But it's just funny how what you said, the tapestry when you were describing everything, the threads of life, and it was just like all connected.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, oh, she did that so beautifully. How did she do all of that? Like wrap it all together like that. I mean, you were just autographing my book. And I just took that so literal, like how you have it all together and everything. And then when I read the book, I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, because I don't want to I'm trying to get not to give everybody what it is about or whatever, but you did put a lot of yourself in
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
So with that, um, it's public. Like, when you're writing and you're putting a lot of yourself in there, does that, like, when people ask you questions like myself, um, about the things that you wrote in the book, does that tug at you? Do you get like in your feelings about certain things within the book, even though you've written it like a while ago?
Yeah, I think no. So most succinctly, no, it doesn't at this point. There's a phrase in I don't remember who said this, so I want to give credit to whoever is out there listening. But
Okay.
really sharing from your scar and not the wound, right? So making sure that if you're going to share something, it's you've dealt with it first, right?
Okay.
Like you've gone through the healing process or whatever the processing of it, the unpacking for yourself before you put it out there. Because whenever people hear something, see something, read something, they add their own meaning to it based on their own
Mhm.
their own life, their own
Mhm.
experience. So once I put it out there, I know it's no longer mine, right? And that was a um, release, that was a surrender of, okay, if I am choosing to say these things, I have
Mhm.
to be okay with people reading these things and people reading
Mhm.
these things and me not coming behind and having more opportunities to clarify it, right? Like I have not read that book since I finished it. I tried reading it. I was like, it's me. I can't, I'm too awkward to read my
Like
own
it
book.
seems weird or something.
It's like, it's too close to it. But
Okay.
one thing I've shared in it are things that all in all, I'm very proud of. And I made sure to speak for myself about myself. There are other people that I reference, like my parents, and I never wanted to speak for them. It was just simply my understanding of what they've given me and the experiences I've seen from my own vantage point. So
Right. Your point of view, basically.
exactly. So it's fine to ask questions. I'm happy to speak a little bit more about things, but it had to be because I was speaking about things that I had already come to terms with. I had already processed. I had already made meaning of. I had already defined for myself. And however people take it, do with it as you will. I hope it means something, and I hope it gives you something that you can process for yourself too.
Yeah, because sometimes when you ask people questions about something they wrote,
Mhm.
I, like you just said, I'm thinking like, okay, you wrote this. Obviously, you're ready for people to critique or either ask you questions about what you have written, and then come to find out they are offended by it. But why did you put it out in public if you never intended for someone to,
Right.
ask or self-evaluate what was going on? I guess with what you wrote. And
Right.
I just kind of find that kind of contradicting in a way sometimes, like when people do that. But I mean, with you, I mean, you basically just told me, well, that ain't me. I didn't deal with that and I'm okay with it.
And I will say, sometimes you can think you would be okay with it. And then when you're actually in the moment and someone asks a question, you're like, oh, maybe I'm not as okay as I thought I was. But that's just
Mhm.
for the way I look at it is, all right, that's something I need to handle on my own time and just give and have it fun. Say either I'm not comfortable discussing that, or I went as deep as I would like to in such and such chapter. I invite you to revisit it for my thoughts. There are many ways to navigate those things, but for
I
me,
know, right?
yeah,
One thing though, I will pick a bone with you about with the book. You,
please, yeah.
I did not.
I know what you're going to say, but I'm curious. Go ahead.
I did not like when I'm ready to read a chapter and it's not there.
Which one?
So you jumped from, and let me see, I got to look at my notes. I wrote this down.
Oh no, what did I
You
do?
jumped from, you did this a couple of times. Okay, so you jumped from chapter 8 to 9. You only wrote just like what you wrote on that page.
Yes.
And then you did it again on chapter 11 to chapter 12.
I see what you're saying. Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
then you did it again.
Those are the chapters. That's
I
it.
know, but I'm like, what?
Sentence.
I'm like, I have to ask her, like, I've never written a book like that. I'm ready for another chapter. I'm like, it's not. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It was a thought I had, and I just wanted to share it. Chapter 8 is a thought.
I'm like, okay. So then you think like you could have just put that like at the end of the chapter, previous chapter, or the beginning of the next chapter?
It was its own standalone. It deserved its own space
Oh,
for it to
okay. I'm gonna let
fully
that.
for it to fully breathe in the way I felt it needed to.
I know. Okay. So you asked the question in the book, and I want to ask you the question. You asked the audience a question, but I want to ask you. You said, "What is your avatar?"
Mm.
So, what is yours?
It's funny. I am figuring that out because I think that's a chapter where, I list out the goals and aspirations, like
Mm-hmm.
have my doctorate by 35. Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do not have my doctorate and I am redacted, I won't say. Um, However, I think my avatar is myself, right? And continuously figuring it out. Because I've had several career changes even since this book came out. I have made new friends, redefined relationships, figured out things. There's parts of this where it's like, I don't know that I would say the same thing in the same way for how I
Okay.
figured ideas and perspective. So I am my own avatar. Will I become a blockbuster sensation to be determined? But really
True.
continuing to refine it and figure out, okay, what are the tools and resources I need in order to be the version of myself that I know I can be, right? For James Cameron, he knew what he wanted this movie to look like.
Right.
Sat on it, and he continued to do work, he continued to do things, and he just waited until he had the tools, the resources, the access,
Mm-hmm.
get it to the form that he wanted to be out there, right? He wasn't just going to put something out there just to say he did it. And for
No.
me, that's really how a lot of this is, right? I'm not just going to put books out there just to say I did them. I'm not just going to say things just to say I said it. It's really waiting until I have what it is, the continuous process of doing things and also making sure that what I'm doing is as reflective of what I'm looking for as possible. That's my answer as of today.
Okay. Okay. Because I know you've written it a while ago. So that's why I asked you to at this
Yeah.
current date.
Yeah.
Like maybe like you just said it, you answered it brilliantly. Basically, I mean, because we always are changing. What
Exactly.
you probably had goals for 5 years ago may not be the same goals you have currently.
Right. Or
So,
different versions of those goals as well, right? Because I do
yeah.
believe that there, again, the thread motif, but there is always a common through line, right? Like wherever you are, that's where you are, right? I am going to
Mhm.
be regardless of who I'm speaking with, what's the context, what I'm talking about, da, da, da. It's just different versions of it. And I'm
Yes.
excited to see what version of me shows up, even though I'm still Diana at
Yeah. 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 This one girl told me once, who I interviewed, she was like, you are a pie in a sense. Like
Mhm,
the pie, you're gonna have all these different variances of your
mhm,
life in this pie. You can't like necessarily just stay in one piece because there's
mhm.
gonna be many pieces of you in that pie. And I was like, oh yeah, that is right. Because you go through so many different experiences in life.
Yes,
So you can't stay in one area too long because it's just human nature
yes.
that is going to change for you. And I'm
As
like, oh, okay.
as you get more things, as you meet more people, as you interact with new environments, contexts, etc.
So true. And then another thing in the book that I want to address, you said that, which tugged at my heart a little bit when you said that you didn't know your mom's favorite color. And I'm like, dang, I don't even know my mom's. I think it's red, but I'm not sure.
It's one of those things of like, oh, I know you, but I don't know you. Yeah.
Yeah, and we just think like those little, and see, that was something small, like, but it's like, wow. Then I got to thinking about other things. I'm like, I know my mom's shoe size. I know what size this is. I know that, those little things and stuff, but you only really know like the characteristics of the person. Like, oh, my mom don't like when you do this or that, or you
This will
know
be the
her.
response, or this is how she'll react, but like those little insignificant things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was just like, oh, but and then another one was when you were like, you remember your first friend. I do too. I was
What
so
was,
little. Her name was Sunjoy.
if you're listening, Sandra, I always like bumped into her I'm like, what if I just bumped into her on the street? Would I recognize her? Would she recognize
Hmm.
me? I always
Hmm.
have those thoughts, and I still haven't found her. I've tried Googling sometimes, but it just can't pop up. I don't know if I'm spelling her name wrong or what it is that,
Mhm.
or if she's changed her name by the time we're here
Yeah.
years later, what that could be. But yeah,
So you haven't never like reconnect with her?
no,
Not
sad.
even with all this technology and social media we have?
That's what I'm saying. Like I have tried to find her, but it's just not in the cards. I'll do another search after this call to see if I can remember. It's the last name. I don't remember how to spell her last name. Um,
Okay.
and that is a huge part of it. So that's also
Oh, okay.
user error more than anything else. It's like, oh, I just don't know what to put in anymore at this point to find her.
Okay. Well, I hope you do find her. Let me know if you do. That would be nice. I like to see, I like that if they're worthy. I like when people reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
just from lost time, kind of, like you said in the book, time gets between people and you think you're going to be friends forever, but
Life
yeah,
happens,
your
things happen.
interests change, you move, they move, just different stuff like that. And I just love your book so much, how you interact like throughout the book, like you put you in a chapter and then you'll go back to the story. So I feel like I'm getting two stories in one.
A little double header over here. A little,
I'm like, because you relate your experience with sort of like what the story sort of experience is in a way. And at first, I will say, I ain't gonna name the character, but I thought she was like being a real bitch at first. But then as you read, I'm like, okay, okay.
reasons for all the things.
Yeah, I thought she was a real bee. How is this gonna go? Okay, let me just keep reading so I can figure this out.
Yeah, what all is result or is what created this reaction to the process
Hmm.
of meeting up with someone who was a right? What are the reasons behind the thing? So a
Yeah,
little
because
mystery.
I know. Because I know I probably would be nervous too, after so long and you
Yeah,
don't know how people are. Like, do they still have the same interest or characteristics that you remember? And it can be kind of awkward, but I mean, yeah, when I was reading, I'm like, start talking.
I mean, it gets the people going. You're not the first person to have that reaction to my so, you know, it's,
Yeah, so I'm just like, okay, well, maybe they're both. And then, they start to talk, and you're like, oh, okay. You kind of get the feel of the characters of the people that you're reading about. And so I don't know. But anyway, so with this book though, um, did you self-publish or did you go through traditional publishing?
I self-published it. So I started the process in exploring traditional publishing, reaching out to different agents. And it's funny because the thing that you expressed really enjoying about it, the fact that it's screenplay and nonfiction, was a hindrance for the traditional process. So between the length and the fact that it is not a genre specific thing, I struggle to find agents who would want to represent and then push it forward to actual traditional publishers. And then I got tired of having to explain, no, this is the way I want it to be. And it
Mm-hmm.
goes back to what I said earlier of realizing that this is something I want to share with other people, right? I don't want to just keep these thoughts to myself. I don't just want to keep these thoughts to my immediate circle. I want to get it out in front of strangers. Whoever can come across it, I want to make it accessible. So I decided to self-publish it and went through that process as
Well,
well.
I'm glad you did because then I have it now. But I typically learned that a couple of people I interviewed basically was saying the similar things that you were saying when it comes to finding an agent or doing traditional publishing. That is kind of difficult. And with that, like, so with your cover, which I love, everybody I showed us, they're like, why didn't she put a mouth on her? And I'm like, maybe that's the joy of it. Maybe it's she didn't want to speak. Maybe it could be like a metaphor, or I don't know, but I'm just guessing. But you're here today. What was the reason why you didn't put a mouth on her?
Honestly, I didn't even think of that, to be frank. So the cover design is from one of my college roommates who is a graphic designer, who's an artist, who I've had these conversations with. And I said, look, I'm doing this independently. I am, you know, writing this book, publishing it. I am not artistic. I know what I like. I know what looks good and I know what I like, but I can't make it. But you do.
Okay.
And part of my life. So I went to her and I said, here's what I would like to do. So she came up with this and I said, that's exactly what I want it to be. And we went from there.
Okay.
But I didn't even notice the no mouth part of it.
I know because I like the colors and all the little, it just brings it out more. And I really didn't really trip about her not having a mouth. But the people I when I rereading it and they look at it, they're like, well, it's a nice cover design, but where is her mouth? And I'm like,
Mouth
well,
is
maybe
in
this.
the words. The book is my mouth. The words are is
Right, right. I'm like, well, maybe the book will speak to you. She necessarily doesn't want to have the mouth because she doesn't want to talk. I don't know, just like a metaphor thing. That's what
That's
I
not
just.
the answer. From henceforth, the answer is because the book speaks for me. The cover
I
is
would take that. Right, right. Um, ha, so have you ever thought about using AI since it's so popular now to write some of your literary work?
for my work that is intended to share my thoughts about things. No, right? I think there is a world, there is room in the world for artificial intelligence. And, if you need help with quick brainstorming, so I work with some of my clients in different areas where it is helpful to have
Mm-hmm.
the totality of human knowledge on a screen in one fell swoop. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, I think there's a limit to what AI can do. Like AI cannot explain to you why your heart drops when you read a certain line, or why your eyes light up when you see a certain thing, or why
Mm-hmm.
memory causes XYZ reaction. Like there's a disconnect between the human experience and what a computer can say, express, and explain. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, well, I get that there are people who write with it, use it to write primarily. That's just not in my ministry to lean into that tool for writing and creativity.
Yeah, you said something very interesting. So as far as you don't think that AI could emotionally
Mhm.
write from a human standpoint, because most people when they said that when they know the difference when they read AI like from a book, like they can tell the difference how it lacks, like I just said, the emotional effect.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I like to ask people that because I know that that's out there now. Like, you really don't have to write a book on your own, or you can just tell it like what you wanted to say, or and it kind of just goes from there. And
Yeah.
I just like to hear people's thoughts on that.
Yeah, and maybe they will make a version at some point that can really dive in. But for me, to your point, like it is very easy to tell when someone has just
Mhm.
put in a prompt and taken what was spit out because it just feels robotic, right? Like it doesn't feel like there's any spirit or soul behind what's being said or
Natural.
it. Yes, it's just like, oh, did you proofread this first? Did you add yourself to this at all? So again, I think
Mhm.
there's spaces and context in which it's helpful for the creative side of things, for what I enjoy consuming, what I enjoy producing. It doesn't hit the mark for me.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because like I say, most people do. They say, like, no, I'd rather write my own material for now. Later on, I might think about using it for little things, but not to write my whole content.
Yeah, that then it's not me. It could have been anyone. Anyone could have put this prompt in and put it out there. I just happened to put my name on it, but that doesn't mean it's me. It just means I knew what to ask, which isn't the process that feels good when I want to go out there and create and write and muse and wonder. So,
So you said before, like with the whole thing of trying to find an agent with traditional publishing, and you did self-publishing on your own. So with that, do you feel like, what do you think is the current state of publishing in your eyes?
hmm, I I don't think it's going anywhere. Right. I don't think we're ever going to be in a place where we stop having people create. I don't think we're ever going to be in a place where we have people, no longer writing or sharing their thoughts. I do wonder on both ends of it, right? The people writing, what are they
Mm-hmm.
writing for, right? Are they writing for trends? I know even most recently when we were talking about some of the projects I was working on before, started looking like if I wanted to move forward with this, what's the landscape today, right? What are
Okay.
requirements for an author? Da, 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 da. And a lot of agents want you to come already known in the world because we have social media, because we have followings. They want
Mm-hmm.
artists to already have people lined up on their TikTok page to see what they're putting out, right? So a lot of folks are writing
Mm-hmm.
for the trends or feeling as though they need to already be established before they can even be considered as a possible client. And then on the other side, with publishing as an industry, I'm really interested in seeing how they handle the AI aspect of things, right? Like what happens when you get people who are using artificial intelligence to write books? What happens when you get people who are using AI to try to figure out if a book is going to be sellable, if it's even worth
Mm-hmm.
that? So I think the landscape is going to have to figure out how to remain traditional and I'm going to say pure, but I don't authentic, not to drag
Right.
word through the mud again, while also keeping up with the consumption habits of people. People want things quickly. They want it last week. If you're writing a series, I just finished book one. Where's book three? I want to get through this book.
Microwave.
Like microwave eating, funneling fast food creativity. Um, and then also, is it profitable, right? Are authors actually making money? Are you paying them for the work that they're doing if you feel as though you
Mhm.
can get someone else to print it out quicker, write it faster, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens for all creative spaces, but specifically the publishing industry, because what are you all going to do to
Mm.
protect authors? What are you all going to do to protect the spirit and the essence of what it means to put words to experiences and put your
Mhm.
vision into the real world?
Right. Yeah, because the world is changing fast.
Very quickly.
And then I read like some content where, they're trying to ban books. I don't know how true that is, but I'm like, if
Yeah,
you couldn't actually physically, if I couldn't actually physically, now I know, don't get me wrong, people are doing audio now for your book. They're listening to the books more than actually holding the book and reading. which
Mhm.
is cool, I think. But to actually be able to actually have your own copy of someone's material,
Mhm.
right now, I couldn't imagine not no books at all, nowhere. I don't. I just can't see that right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And to the note of book bannings, it's a question of who gets to share their perspective, who gets to share their experience. Because a lot of these book bans are about specific topics in specific types of books, right? And I think
Hmm.
that's going to be another hurdle, another landscape to have to navigate of, okay, am I even allowed to write this anymore? Or if I wrote this 5 years ago, is anyone even allowed to read it? Or are they going to be restricted in
Mm-hmm.
libraries, certain schools for whatever reason? So I think, again, the landscape is going to continue to be a lot of questioning, answering, challenging, and hopefully a lot of people trying anyway. Like, I see what you're saying and I see what the odds
Hmm.
are, but
Hmm.
that's much to me that I'm going to push forward as much as I can, regardless.
Yeah, it's just because everything's just happening so fast. I'm just curious with like all this content. We get information like I don't know, so fast now compared to when you had to wait to get the information. It's just like the next day, your answer. There's your answer. You ask a question, the next day there's your answer. It's like really fast. But so I know you self-published. Besides when I met you at the Soulful Chicago Book Fair, how did you market your book?
Yeah, so I marketed through word of mouth. I did some uh, press features. So I, pitched the book to different local newspapers to say, hey, local girl did this, local lady. And then also different events. So similar book fairs, festivals, like the one we met at. So it was really on the ground, work, trying to get it out there, and then just put it up on the website and said, hey, are you interested in reviewing?
Hmm.
Interested in sharing this on your blog? So a lot of manual labor, which is a lot, which is why I get why people go the traditional route because there's more support. You actually have a marketing team behind you. You have people who can do all of these things. But as a one-woman show, it was a lot of spreadsheets and figuring out, all right, I set this on this day. I should follow up on this day. I have this event on this day. So working
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
garner as much publicity and word of mouth as possible, and then letting it go from there.
Yeah, because you're doing everything on your own. Just like you said, when you have traditional publishing, they're doing all the work.
Mhm.
Um, so I can relate to that. Very. And you know what? I meant to say this. I listened to you did a podcast with a young lady. I forgot her name. But you guys were talking like you were best friends.
Living in Black,
That sounds familiar. I went to your website.
I've done a number of them, but based on the way you're describing it, I think, and the time it would have been around this book, I believe it would be her.
And then you were speaking about I don't know, don't quote me, about a psychiatrist or psychiatry in a way. I think you were explaining like God, I hate this because I was going somewhere with it. But it was something about psychiatry, how you was describing it. Basically, you were saying like it wasn't bad, that people should be able to speak to someone about uh, someone they trust, preferably, and who's known to other people about the work that they do. But you didn't find it like where there's a stereotype when you talk to a psychiatrist or something like that manner.
Also, I
Ugh.
mean, I can speak to that now in terms of the prompt that you just gave. That yes, I do believe that folks should, one, have access to and then take advantage of mental health support, whether it be therapy, psychiatric support, whatever the case is, to get what all is going on in their head out, right? Because we can just sit and ruminate and just think. one, think through a problem ad nauseum with no off ramp. Right? You just spinning your wheels, trying to process it, trying to understand it. Or you may not be able to have a space where it can be reflected back to you and affirm whatever your experiences or whatever your feelings are, whatever the case might be. So I
Mm-hmm.
love it. I think it's great. It definitely takes somewhere to find that person you feel comfortable enough with to say, hey, things are going really great right now, and I'm going to allow myself to sit in this joy and this happiness, or things are not going great right now. And I'm going to allow
Mm-hmm.
myself to whine, quote unquote, or complain without feeling the judgment. Because sometimes your friends and your family, they love you, they know you, but they love you, they know you. So that object
Yeah, you
isn't
kind of want an unbiased opinion.
exactly. You need someone to say, like, listen, I am literally paying you to listen to me. So I'm gonna use these 45 minutes, these 50 minutes, and say whatever it is I need to, because it's literally your job. You don't owe me anything, right? I don't need you to coddle me. I don't need you to console me. I just need you to listen or help me
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't otherwise. So absolutely. If you have access to it, I hope you are able to find access. And if you do have access, take advantage of it to the extent you need it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's very helpful.
Yeah, it's just like you just felt like so open. Like now, like we're talking, I feel like you just are open for conversation. You know how you got to pull stuff out of people sometimes. Like, oh
No,
my
I love it. Like, let's figure out what all is going on. Like, what's going on in our minds, our hearts? What are we processing? What are we questioning? Otherwise, what's the point? Right? Like, humans are weird. Humans are
God.
do things sometimes. I just look around like, are birds sitting around having the conversations we're having? Are other animals like when all these other animals are barking little
Uh-huh.
are the same things like that we and I
I
don't
think so, just in their own way, because they'll
in their own way, but like we're just special and I love it. So I love talking about it with people because what else are we gonna do? We're here, might as well.
right. So do you currently read right now any other authors besides your own books?
Absolutely. I have Libby, which is a wonderful app. I love promoting it through the library. So it's similar to like you can read books, kind of like a Kindle type thing, but Libby
Okay.
borrow books from the library, ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, all the things. Download Libby now. Get a library card. Uh, one author that I've really been scooping up is Frida McFadden.
I never heard of that author.
There's a lot of like mystery psychological thrillers where if if the character in the beginning of the book really annoyed you, I think you would like Frida's books because all of her characters are so unusual. Always caught up in some hijinks, which I love. Um, I've also been reading, so I'm planning on going back to school, so I'm trying to like get my mind back.
Hmm.
So it's mainly been Frida and then some nonfiction stuff like psychology. How does the human mind work? How do we do things? So it's been a mix of the two worlds, fiction and nonfiction.
Do you have a favorite author?
I don't know that I have favorite authors in the way that, I'm always going to just go back to them, but I do have favorite books that are more easier to think about. There's one, for example, um, When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Dani, I think is his last name, and it's
Hold on, let me write that down because I want to look that up. Is that a psychiatry book?
no, it's a memoir. So the author is uh,
Oh,
basically writes it after getting a terminally ill diagnosis. So it's basically his last project. He knows he's about to pass away from his illness, and he just writes about his reflections on life. It is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read.
what was it called? You said
When Breath Becomes Air.
When Breath Becomes Air, and his
Yes.
name is.
Let me make sure I'm saying the right name. Dr. Paul Tassan. I'm pulling up Libby now so I can just look to see what.
That's okay. I'm patient.
Okay, so Paul, common spelling for the first name, and then Kalanithi. Kalanithi.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up when me and you get off here.
Yes, so that's one of my favorites.
Is that that's a novel, right?
Yeah. So he writes the like he basically writes all of his reflections. Like, wow.
Okay.
If I could write like I hope that anything I create or write can touch people in the way that that book touched me, because it was one of those where I listened to it as an audiobook, so I would listen to it, but then it was a mistake because there were certain parts where I was running and like sobbing, and I'm like, if anyone's watching me run through the park right now, like, what's going on? Like, no, it's not.
Like what? Oh, like what are you listening to? That's so sad.
Girl, you shouldn't be running. I think it's hurting you too much. Like, I think you'll sit down.
Right. Right. So, do you journal?
I do. I haven't been journaling as much as I like. There, I go through seasons where some days it's like every day just gonna write something. But I do like the act of either writing my thoughts out, or a couple entries have been audio. So just setting up the voice memo and just talking it out loud, just recording, because my wrist gets tired sometimes if I'm writing. But when I can,
Okay.
that's another form of journaling I do as well.
I'm just going to ask you a series of questions. They don't have to be wrong or right answers. You don't need to dialogue them out. It's just whatever comes to your mind at first, just answer them. And then we're just going to close out the interview and and go from there. So, are you cool with the little?
Well, yes, absolutely.
I know, my husband said, that's weird you do that. I'm like, well, this is my interview.
Your structure, I'm on your show.
Okay. So, okay. First question. Do you prefer indoors or outdoors?
Indoors.
A cooked meal at home or dining out?
Dining out.
Do you prefer to ride a train or an airplane?
Train. Did you have to train?
Okay. Do you prefer cats or dogs?
Cats.
Do you prefer to jog or swim?
Jog. I don't know how to swim. Oh, it has to be jogging.
You don't know how to swim, Diana?
I've tried.
Oh my gosh.
Thinking I can't, it's too much. That's another interview for another day.
Okay. And last question. Are you a part of any book club?
Not.
Sorry about that.
You're fine. I'm not.
You're
I have
not?
one where I have a friend of mine where we'll talk about books like, oh, have you read this? I'm reading this, but not formally part of it. So, yeah.
I would love for you to subscribe to my book club.
Absolutely. Yeah, send me all the things. Reach out, let me know. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for reaching out and thinking of my book, remembering my book, having meaning or deriving meaning from my book. It was really special to hear from you and have this invitation. So I really appreciate
I
it.
know. And last thing I want to say before we get off of here, girl, I've been looking at your face. You remind me of, and it's crazy, y'all have the same name too. You know the little girl off of Blackish?
Yeah, okay. Yes, yes, I've heard that.
I'm like, like, she looked like the little girl on some Blackish. Like, you could be her big sister. No lie. If they ever did, I'm telling you.
Little Diane with her rude self. I love her.
I know. I love her though. I love her.
Nice. I'm like, yes, that's how you should be. So thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. But I was just like, and y'all have the same name. That's so crazy. I was like, okay. But all right, I'm gonna get off here and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this interview with me. And hopefully, with any other projects you have in the future, we can do this again. And as I said, I will reach out. Hopefully, it ain't all the drama we went through before.
I was like, what is sabotage? What is happening?
Hopefully, it's not the drama we went through before, but I really would like to do this with you again because you're a pleasant person to talk to.
Thank you. This was great. I mean, I've been laughing. My belly hurts. I did an ab workout with you. Thank you.
And your sweater is cute, by the way. I meant to say that at the beginning.
It's the season. I was like, yes, it's cold outside. Where are you in Chicago?
No, I'm in Indiana.
Okay.
You are in
New York.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, hold on, quick question. So, when they did that in Chicago, you flew or drove there?
So at that time, I was in Nashville, Tennessee. So I flew
Oh,
in. Yeah. So I
okay.
flew in for it. I wasn't in Chicago. I didn't live in Chicago at the time, but I've since moved to New York from Nashville. So
Well, you
thank
have a good day, lady.
you. Looking
Okay.
forward to combos.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.